Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Guido Goes Off. As always, thank you for watching and thank you for joining me, because it's still Wrestlemania week. Let's face facts. Women's wrestling has changed over the 33, well now 34 WrestleManias. Gone are the days of women being catty and engaging in little cat fights and stripping each other's clothes off, to the point where we're seeing intense physical competitions. And WWE has grown in that process. We've gone from blank on a pole matches to women having their own Royal Rumble, having their own Hell in a Cell matches, Money in the Banks, and now they will have a battle royal similar to Andre the Giant. But also, interestingly enough, I saw a trend in this upcoming WrestleMania is that there will actually be one-on-one matches for the women's titles. This is good considering I don't think there's been a one-on-one match for any woman's title in a WrestleMania in quite some time. At least a decade, I think. But with the good comes the bad. And that's what I'm getting into today. This will be my top 10 best and worst women's WrestleMania matches. So yes, I will go with, in my opinion, the 5 worst and the 5 best. Now, my opinion might be different from everybody else's, but, my show, I can kind of do that thing. If you guys have a match that you think is one of the best or one of the worst, of course, leave a line in the comment section below. You can always talk to me via my social media. So, let's get started. Starting with my 5th worst WrestleMania women's match, the Vickie Guerrero Invitational from WrestleMania 30. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, it was of course an excuse to get every woman on the card. However, the one problem I had with it was just a one-fall match. It would have made a lot more sense if this were a scramble match where you'd have like a 20-minute time limit or 30-minute or whatever, and all the women, if a pin or submission scored, that woman is the champion until someone pins or submits her, and going forward. However, it was built as a one-fall match. It wasn't extravagantly long, and bear this in mind, this was the 294th day of AJ's title reign. Now, of course, she blasted all of the competitors and, got to crow about it for about 5 minutes on Monday night until some dark-haired lady from England showed up. But again, it was just a discombobulated mess, and kind of still showing that WWE really didn't have the confidence in the women's division. But like I said, things changed real quick. And so, I mean, in the end, it wasn't horrible. It was just not great. And like I said, I think it would have gone over better had it gone under scramble rules. So, number 5, worst match, Vickie Guerrero Invitational. Moving on to my 5th best WrestleMania women's match, and that would be the hair versus title match between Victoria and Molly Holly at WrestleMania 20. Now, the reason why I have this as one of my best is because the women fought to get it on the card. And, it was basically Victoria and Molly were like, why should a match I'm going to talk about later be the only women's match on the card where, why do we have an actual women's wrestling match? And they fought, and Vince agreed, and, because they were willing to put their hair on the line in this match, which was, unheard of by women's standards. So, taking that risk simply to get on the main body of a WrestleMania card, kudos to these women for doing that, and it shows the risk that it shows what these women were willing to go to, especially in a day, especially considering this was still the day and age where, you know, most of your women's were blonde haired, big tits, you know, that old song and dance. So my number 5 women's WrestleMania match, Victoria versus Molly Holly at WrestleMania 20. But we're still sticking with WrestleMania 20 when it comes to my 4th worst WrestleMania match. This match being the evening gown match with the team of Tori Wilson and Sable against the team of Stacy Keibler and Miss Jackie. Now, the reason why this is considered the worst is simply because, well, the women basically took their evening gowns off and wrestled in their underwear. Woohoo! Now, bear this in mind. Tori and Sable proposed that the women took their evening gowns off because that's basically the best thing Tori Wilson and Sable can do. Because sure as hell ain't wrestling. And even when Miss Jackie balked, it's Stacy Keibler talking, hey, it's fine. But again, this was something that once again demeaned women's role in wrestling. And it's what's basically, because I think, Russo was gone by this time, but, it basically sounded like a Kevin Dunn wet dream match because, hey, let's have our pretty blonde ladies in their underwear. Yay. But again, it's demeaning, it was disgraceful, and it really was not very good. So that's why it's on the worst WrestleMania matches. Okay, going to my 4th best WrestleMania match. Basically putting an end to the kind of matches we had been used to seeing at WrestleMania, at least as far as the women were concerned, and into more of a physical contest, and that being AJ and Paige versus the Bellas at WrestleMania 31. It had been, my big knock on this one was that the title wasn't on the line. Paige had been fighting Nikki Bella to get the title back, and then getting, beaten up by both Bellas. Then AJ had finally returned, and this, of course, being basically AJ's second to last match. I think she wrestled a match. She wrestled, I think it was a 6-woman tag at WrestleMania on the Raw after, and then she hung up her boots for good. But it did usher in this. It did kind of help usher in the era of wrestling we're seeing now. Is kind of it was the end of what we were used to seeing and the beginning of what we were going to see as far as women's wrestling in WWE. And it's still kind of unfortunate right now that with all this history, you got Paige sitting on the sidelines. But being as part of the catalyst of it, to where it is, she can kind of look on it with pride. It was a good contest. Don't get me wrong. It was decent, because the Bellas are not very well known for their wrestling. At least what we can show on TV. But again, oh yeah, I did that again, didn't I? But again, like I said, it ended one era and has ushered in this current era where competition is heavily favored in the women's division. And so that's why this is my 4th best women's WrestleMania match. Okay, moving on to my 3rd worst. The reason this is where it is because simply it killed the women's division in WWE for quite some time. And that is the Fabulous Moolah versus Velvet McIntyre at WrestleMania 2. 1.5 minutes was all that these women were given. This match opened up the Chicago portion of WrestleMania 2. As you know, it took place in New York, Chicago, and LA. This opened up the Chicago portion. I mean, if you look at it, it's bowling shoe ugly. But then again, Moolah was never known for her ring work. And it's basically she lobbied, from what has been said, she lobbied for the match to be shortened because she really didn't feel like working. And it's unfortunate, and it showed, and because of this, we did not see another women's match on a WrestleMania card until WrestleMania 10 when with Alundra Blaze and Leilani Kai. So, yeah, that's why it ranks pretty low on my list. Because, simply put, it was ugly. It just didn't seem like anybody cared, and it was just if you ever watch it, you'll probably agree with me. That's why it's my third worst women's WrestleMania match. Okay, going on to my number 3 best women's match. The triple threat, Jazz versus Trish Stratus versus Lita at WrestleMania 18. Now, this was what, when we were getting better at showing what the female athletes could do in WWE. And, I mean, you had, Lita, well-trained in Lucha Libre, Jazz, who had gone through her paces. And this was really when Trish was really starting to come into her own. Shedding more of that, pretty much doing less of I'm a model turned wrestler to actually becoming the wrestler that, we become the 8-time women's champion. Finally putting it all together. Kind of like what we're seeing Charlotte at now. Only a bit more physical on Charlotte's end. And it was just a really exciting contest. I know there was another one a year later where they replaced Lita with Victoria, but this one kind of stands out in my head because of, as I said, it was just, things. It looked like things were really coming together. Like I said, this was when Finlay was in charge of the women's division, and he was putting them through their paces. He's like, if you're gonna wrestle, you're gonna freaking wrestle and all that. And to be honest, it was great, seeing this, but then there was that unfortunate regression 2 years down the road. But, like I'm saying, things are like even better now than they were at this point. So this is why this ranks so high with me. Okay, my number 2 worst WrestleMania women's match. Well, I just lumped a bunch together, and that is all lingerie pillow fights or whatever pillow fight matches you had. Whether it was the dog pile that was the one at WrestleMania 19, or the pillow fight between Tori Wilson and Candice Michelle that got a boring chant. How bad does a lingerie pillow fight have to be when it gets a boring chant? Don't get me wrong, it was boring, but I'm just saying, you get women in their underwear, and this is boring. That's sad. But like I said, I think there was maybe one more, but I really don't care. Let's face facts. What these were simply, the bookers and whoever backstage thought that these would be a way of titillating the crowd and getting them really excited, but in the end, it was just an excuse to go to the bathroom or hit the merchandise stand or get your sandwich if you were at home. Because that's what these were crap. And that's why I'm lumping them all together and putting them on the number 2 spot. Believe it or not, there's something worse than this. But anyway, so all pillow fight matches are my number 2. Okay, going into my number 2 best WrestleMania women's match. It's kind of interesting because I'm going back to WrestleMania 22. I addressed it a bit with my second worst because there was that. And I could have gone to. I would have had the chance to go to this, but something happened. Another life-changing event had to happen that year. Love you, boss lady. But anyway, still, a great match, a great contest, and that was Trish Stratus versus Mickie James at WrestleMania 22. Of course, everybody knows about the one move that got deleted from any further airings on the network. But all in all, this was a very physical contest, illustrating, the abilities of these two women. Of course, you're talking about these two women with, I think at least 13 women's championships between the two of them. Nowadays, and it just showed that there was still this glimmer of hope in an era where what you had in your bra was more important than what you could do in the ring. Which now, as you know, today, it's so much more what you can do in the ring because and seeing positive female role models. I mean, this how the storyline progressed, but still, you got a great match out of it. So that's why it is my number 2 best match, Trish versus Mickie James, WrestleMania 22. First of all, you've all been waiting for my worst WrestleMania women's match of all time. The Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal from WrestleMania 25. And if you're wondering why is this the worst one of all time, the match was won by Santino Marella in drag. Let's let that sink in for a second. I mean, you had, some of the best women from years past. You had a lot of current roster. And who did you have win this? Santino Marella in drag. It's not like they were fighting for a women's title match or anything. No, all you got was a crown and a sash. There she is, Miss WrestleMania. I'm glad wrestling's better now. I'm glad the women's wrestling's better now. I really am. I'm glad they're at least attempting to book it in a way that's relevant for the most part. I'm looking at you, Road Dogg. But really, a women's battle royal run by a guy in drag. This is why this is so bad, because this was an all-time low. And I just hope we never stoop this low again, because honestly, thinking about this match is giving me a headache. So I am going to wrap this up. The worst women's match at WrestleMania, the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal from WrestleMania 25. And now for the best women's WrestleMania match of all time. Well, at least until this Sunday. We could probably see some pretty good ones there. But the match that solidified the shift in women's wrestling, because they were once again fighting for the women's championship, not some Barbie accessory. They were fighting for a respectable looking women's title belt, and that is, in this match, you pretty much know what I'm talking about now. Charlotte versus Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks at WrestleMania 32 for the women's championship. This was the match that showcased just how far women's wrestling had come in such a short time. We were gone from the days of let's toss everybody in a pot. We were gone from the days of 1.5 minute matches. We were gone from the days of lingerie matches and pillow fights and men in drag winning women's matches. This set the tone. This is now the standard bearer. I believe women's wrestling will get even better in WWE. But this sure as heck is a great starting point. This is a great bar to set. And, these women, despite what I think about at least one, maybe two of them nowadays, they came out, they brought it. And now this match is the standard bearer. This is what every match should aspire to be. Now we have women that our daughters can look up to. Well, at least the ones that are four-legged and covered in fur. We have people who are there for the athleticism and not the figures. And it's just great to see that, and it's great now that we get to watch it, because with matches like this, you can tell things are right. Opportunities will come. I mean, ever since that match, it's kind of been the catalyst for, the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match, the first ever women's Money in the Bank, and now the first ever women's Royal Rumble. Women are getting their shot to headline. And who knows? Maybe in a year or two, we will see a women's match headline WrestleMania. But until then, let's just, use this match as the standard and see if anything on Sunday can top it. So my number one best women's WrestleMania match: Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Charlotte for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania 32. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of The Guido Goes Off. I thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying these top 10s I'm putting together. As I said, I'm having a lot of fun doing these. I do have at least another one. I don't know about the second one. I'm unfortunately running low on time, as I gotta get my own preparations get done. But let me know what you think of these. Are there matches, good and bad, that I have missed? If you can think of one, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, you can talk to me via my social media. Of course, please share this video, like it, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. We still got 3 or 4 days before Mania. So, we're still hoping for 100 subs. It's never too late. So until next time, I'm the Guido, and I think we're done here.